This episode of TRT the podcast is brought to you by Connect, fully electric tractors.
Welcome back, guys, to another TRT podcast. I have a guest today, which is an interesting guy for me. He supported me for some 6 or so years now. We always have extremely interesting conversations, and I can tell you that this one is going to be no different. My guest today is a big player in the equestrian world, a supplier of top equestrian brands in Europe for more than 2 decades. He's a man that really knows his stuff. Number one in service and information, highly respected in the industry on both sides of the market, both with retailers and the consumer. Most of you may know him from his very practical, no bullshit, very informative videos on YouTube and most other social media channels. He's just very good at what he does, ladies and gentlemen. The man from Moby Agenture. Welcome to the podcast, Jacob Janssen.
I'm honored. I'm almost blushing. Thank you for the compliments.
Yes, I just small little prep to bring us in.
Thank you.
So, guys,
and I'm also honored to be here.
We're very happy to have you.
Yeah.
And we've had some interesting conversations off camera, so I'm going to let it just slide smoothly into the rest of this podcast. Of course, our conversations are always really interesting, so the hard thing for us is going to be to stay under the 5 hours. So we're going to condense it into the most important parts. And we're going to go into a lot of deep and interesting topics today, which is where our synergy seems to light up the most. But just for the guys listening, just to start out, to give them a bit of an overview, what are you active in now? And tell us a little bit about Moby Agenture, your company. And what you
named by my sons, Morris and Bink. I like my kids, sometimes not, but that's every parents has. But I was at that time when I started the company, I was so proud, and I think, let's name the company like my kids. So Moby Agenture, I'm, as you said, more than 2 decades as a supplier, active in the equestrian business, and my main area is Benelux, so Belgium, Netherlands, and Luxembourg. And my customers are retail stores. Service, if you promise something, keep to it. And that's my main goals. We started by coincidence, the kind of frustration. We started social media because we will come later to it. A lot of people uses their rugs on wrong way and not always horse friendly. So at the kind of frustration, we thought, we need to tell our story, and how can we do it best to tell it directly? And it got kind of out of control. The social media. I have now a lot of people working for me to take care about it. We have 4 brands. My most important is Bucas. That's also the brand where I work the longest period for. Besides of that, I have Paché, the German tech and saddle manufacturer. I have Monta, the Danish company for apparel. And I have a socks house, the Stap Horse socks. I like to work with specialists, and all 4 are really a specialist in a small assortment group. I don't like companies or brands who think they can manufacture all. And you can't be a specialist in safety helmets. You can't be a specialist in rugs or saddles, etc., etc. So I like to work with specialists. So that's
and of course, and ambassadors, of course, like me, which is how we have the contact. You have quite a number of ambassadors.
Yeah, we have more than 30. Okay. Defined by some are responsible for all the brands. Some are responsible for only one. It depends on, but we have more than 30. That's not real. We have differentiation between ambassadors and influencers. Some ambassadors are also influencing, but not on the traditional social media way. But we try to have a mix of and try to cover as much as possible. So we have very young influencers, and we also have middle-aged and also some older ones. Some recreation riders, but also some professional. Me as a person, I like to be everywhere. Because everyone has something unique, something special, has a story or needs to learn or can learn me a lot. So I like the variation. Keeps me also young and also updated what is happening in the world. Because I'm getting older and older. And the younger people know more how things go than older people. They have more experience.
And of course it's going, the company in the way you would have started it 2 decades ago, and then to how it's running now, when you're talking about influencers and ambassadors and social media. And if I see all the informational videos you guys are putting out and running webinars, and and I mean, everybody in the horse world in some aspect has to have kind of a media company. You're kind of a media company to represent.
I even said this morning to a brand I represent, I said, we are for already a long time in the market that good products without marketing aren't sold. And the opposite, bad products with good marketing are sold. Look how many brands started the last years, and they came from nowhere, and they are huge.
What used to take many years to build a name, and
Bucas is existing more than 40 years, Paché more than 150 years, and what you often see at older existing companies, it's also run by older people. They know they manufactured one of the best, maybe the best, and they think it's normal that it's the best. But the end consumer, if they don't understand that it's the best, and they get a little bit shy. They say, but we don't tell everyone that we are the best. No, but there's always a road between. So don't be arrogant, but you can be proud. I know it's a thin line. But especially the older people, and also if they look at the competitors, they say, that's rubbish. But you are a specialist. You know exactly what quality, how it's made, where is it made, manufactured. Yes, maybe you are right that it's not the best, but end consumers don't see the difference. So you need to tell them the difference.
Difficult thing.
And if I can also be critical at my own brand, but because I love Bucas, and but also we need to improve by telling the end consumers what we offer for the price. Why is it so expensive? Next year we also want to focus more on that. That we explain the end consumer why should you buy a Bucas rug. It's not because it looks nice, it has a nice color. Of course, that's also important, but also the functionality.
Well, we'll get further into those things as we go. We were just going to switch it up a little bit. We had a conversation not so long ago, and I think it's also important for people to, what I find interesting about the horse world, doesn't matter where you go or which aspect you're in, or, riders, trainers, it doesn't matter where you are. Everyone has an interesting story of how they came into horses. Nobody is in horses without a kind of induction, everybody, and it's normally from a long time ago. So just to give the people an idea, how are you infected in your life to come into horses?
I blame my sister. She started with pony riding, and I thought, that's fun. So I started when I was 12 years, and first I got a small pony, then you grow and you get a bigger pony, and then you like the competition, and then you like the show jumping and the eventing, and then you get trained by the national, how you call it, the KNS, the Bond, and having success, especially when you're young, it's nice. So I quit when I was 24. Something happened between, and my parents were very proud that I was successful. We had a lot of prizes in the house. We need to buy all prijzenkasten, closets, trophies. And my dad thought, oh, he can ride, so he's getting too big for the ponies and also age. So I buy him a very good horse. And then it went wrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so how was so that's a very interesting, successful, winning everything in the ponies.
It was
finding a lot of fun in it, I would say, in that period.
Yeah.
Being successful, finding something that you're really good at, and then the transition to getting a bigger horse. What changed? Because then you said, how old were you when you stopped?
24.
Yeah.
So between 18 to get a horse and 24, there's a big difference. But that was the last time I was sitting on a horse.
And when you stopped, it was over. Stopped. You never got on a horse again.
No. Now I want, but I have other priorities, but so I need to change my priority. But I love to ride in the forest, so I need to do that. But I need to plan that. I love that. There were a couple of things happening. My last girlfriend, she's now my wife. She was the first girlfriend who has nothing to do with horses. And I was a kind of, maybe it's a little bit too hard to say, but it's kind of abused by my older girlfriend. Oh, he knows from horses, hold my horse, clean the stable, etc., etc.
Highly qualified groom.
Highly. So I was so pleased that my wife wasn't into horses. She was also afraid for horses. It's also for me a little bit complicated to start riding again because I'm often away from home. Someone needs to take care about the horse. And my wife said, it's your hobby, not mine. But to go back to the transition from pony to horse, the reason I was successful, was also because the ponies were so strong, forgivenessful. So if I made a mistake from Discan,
top ponies.
Top ponies. Then you got on a horse. I don't know if it's happening with all the horses, but they, if you make a mistake, they let you know.
Less forgiving.
So I came at a stage that, and that's really sad, but I know a lot of kids are suffering with the same, is the expectations from your parents and what you are able to deal with as a young person. So winning from the pony side, winning. I still remember all the parties we had after the pony tournament, and I won another championship. And then you go on a horse, then your competitors are professionals. For them, it's just a training competition. And for me, it was very, very, very difficult. And if you change from being successful, winning everything, and then you don't win anything, then it's also a sad story for your parents because they invest a lot of money in a good horse, but you don't perform, then you don't like to train your horse anymore. I also could remember that I had to ride horse. Of course, you need to take care, but it was 10:30 in the evening, and I still need to go to the stables and ride my horse because I extend it every time. 8 o'clock, yes, I go. And 9 o'clock, yes, I go. And 10:30, I wasn't riding the horse. So, and because it was building up that much frustration, I couldn't deal with my emotions. So you are frustrating, and you then put it to your horse on a negative way. And I had a situation, I don't dare to explain what, but I thought how horrible I am for my horse because it's my mistake, not the horse mistake. That's also the reason why we have a kind of connection. because I know very good what you are doing with horses. A lot of people, even me, don't look and listen to the horses. They are just, as me, busy performing, be the best, winning everything, and they forget about the horse. And I was on the stage that I was so upset, and I didn't treat my horses well. I said, now I have to go off my horse. If I can't take care of my emotion, my horse doesn't need to suffer it. I also had some bad luck. I quitted earlier with horse riding, but then I was already in the stage that I could go to the military. There is a small department. If you at that time we had to go to the military because it was a law. Dienstplicht. What is the English word?
You're obliged. You have to.
You have to.
Compulsory.
But it was a long process to get on the small part from the military where you could ride horses. It's the rijdende artillery, it's the artillery. And so we were responsible for keeping the tradition and running. So we had very old uniforms, very old carriage with a cannon. And if there was a show, they asked us, please make a couple of rounds and shoot the cannon, and then we leave. That was the main part of the military part. Not to have a fight function, but to keep on traditional.
Keep the traditional life.
So and that ended at when I was 24. So and from then I didn't sit on a horse again. I would love. It's not that I don't want, but it's how times go. But so I'm well known in the riding, and I hope that more people are aware that protecting young kids, especially with fanatic parents who invest a lot because it's a very expensive sport. We need to have a kind of coach or mental trainer to cover it. So there is a gap. Because I also see on competition, I see frustration from kids and the parents.
And it's interesting you say, because of course I come from a very different background and upbringing in Australia. I mean, we don't have riding schools like they do here in Europe. You know, you beg your parents to get a pony, or you go to kind of a place where they have ponies or horses. And you don't learn a technical aspect of riding. You know, you go and you're on the circle and you're sitting and you're learning to pull on the right rein to turn right, and to kick him, you go in trot. And what do you have to do to get the horse to do what you want? Kind of, it's more using horses, and especially if you live out in the middle of nowhere and you have horses and you have to do things with them and get around the farm, or you have your pony there for pleasure, you are working on being able to do things with him and get him to do things for you, go through the dam, ride down, the streets, gallop over the hedges, and it was only that focus of having fun, going fast, and then you kind of have this awareness of, is he enjoying it? Because if he's not, you can't get him to go. He's stopping and pigletting and putting his ears back. And then you think, shit, I have to think of another way to do this. And then that reflection of coming to Europe, and then of course helping a lot of people and helping ponies and young people. And as you say, you're getting this thing of kids starting from very young in the riding school. It's on a technical aspect. It's not about who is my pony and how is he today. Sometimes the pony is already saddled up and they just go here, and you put your helmet on, you get yourself ready. And then already as you get into it, especially now with social media, you look and they have the new glitter boots and the cap, and they get serious into it. They beg the parents enough that are not having a horsey background at all. And then they may be in business where they're a well-off family, and all of a sudden the father's got a 5-horse Scania.
Truck. Half a million euros.
€500,000 with one pony in. But then the focus is, of course, on getting on the team, going to the Europeans, and it starts from there, ponies, and then juniors, and then young rider, and it's and a lot of the time, exactly that story I see over and over and over again. Kids that have been very successful because they've gone and bought the pony that almost does it automatically.
Yeah.
So there's no reflection of their own ability, really.
Yeah.
They're sort of riding on the pony that's been there and done that. And then you get the horse that needs then maybe a little bit more guidance
Yeah.
and a little
That's
bit more
the right
experience.
word. Yeah.
And then you fall into the problem.
Yeah.
So it's, it's something that's I see.
I
constantly.
didn't. Maybe I want to say maybe I didn't regret, but maybe I regret. But it's not an excuse. But it's really a pity that I know still the day where we are in that a lot of kids are struggling with the same.
Yeah.
And I don't know how we can stop it. I don't know whose responsibility it is, but maybe the parents also need to realize.
Yeah.
That putting pressure on your kids, even by Escania, even if you earn a lot of money, the kids have it in the back of their mind. They, that's a lot of money, and if I don't win this weekend,
and the things that come with image, have to have the shiny boots and the best pony, and that pony beat you this week. Yeah, we better go and buy a better one or that one.
Now helmets are very popular. A couple of months ago, a good customer for me said, we got a custom-made order for very expensive helmets. It was ordered online. And we thought, that's very special, very special. It was completely pink. And that's nice, but not everyone wants to compete with it every day. So they said, we hope that it doesn't come back, because by European law, if you order something online, you are allowed to send it back and you need to be credited for 100%. So what happened after a couple of days, weeks, no, it was more than a week. The helmet came back. It was used. Of course, the person who bought said, no, it was not used. And they investigate on social media. Yes, the daughter was presenting the complete outfit in pink. So they know on purpose. They want to have a lot of attention on social media, and they thought, let's buy a crazy helmet, and we just sent it back.
Yeah. I mean, that's the craziness of social, isn't it? I
mean,
when you're getting people renting jets to walk up the stairs to create a reel about.
And the guy from America who jumped out of the plane last week, there was a small plane. And he's active on social media and a YouTuber, and he acted that the plane was crashing, but it was all on purpose. So he jumped out of the plane with the story of, the plane is not working, I have to save myself. But in real, it wasn't. So he got a huge fine because he crashed an airplane. But this was just to getting followers.
Yeah.
And that's also difficult for the younger people. To realize if they see something, is this real or not?
And especially if we're getting into AI and all of the things that are coming, voices and all kinds of stuff.
We need another hour for that.
That's right.
We need another hour.
So we've been working together now, coming on 6 years, is it?
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm not that good in years, but it's already quite a good time.
Yeah. Me as the ambassador, of course, for a few of your brands. You're actually the only agent I've ever worked with in my whole career. So I came across a good one straight out the gate.
Maybe it's also interesting for your listeners viewers to explain what an agent is. An agent is a guy who doesn't have the stock, but is responsible for the sales. So it's a wholesaler without stock. And it's because logistically, we are so good organized that we are focused on one big stock in Ireland where we cover all the world with.
Yeah.
And that's better than to have a lot of small warehouses in every country. So I'm a distributor without having stock.
Yeah.
So I don't have a warehouse, and we are very happy with that.
Yes. The garage at home is not full with product.
No.
Yes. So there's a few things that stood out when we first met, actually. I don't know if you remember our first meeting, but we were exchanging quite some ideas and measuring each other's brain power. And one of the things was the knowledge. So the knowledge you had about the products straight away. I mean, you knew the ins and outs, you knew the ingredients of the material, the process of how it was made, the intricate story and the history of the brand. And that in the beginning made me think, this guy, he knows his stuff. He's the real deal. And it gave me instant credibility. You had credibility instantly with me because of that factor that you knew so much. And it wasn't like a generic sales pitch that you see on the website or whatever. Like, it was deep. You knew the ins and outs. I had the feeling that if I was to ask a question, it would be answered to the best of my satisfaction. And I felt that you really believed in the products you were selling. And how important is that for you? And is it part of your process when you pick a brand? How important is that to really know?
Yeah, it's the most important thing. I quit a brand this year, and it was not. I don't name the brands because that's not how it should be. But I didn't doubt the quality because I investigate a lot to check if the quality and what they promise is okay. But if I don't have the right connection with the owner, and in this case it was owners, and if we are not on the same level, and then I try to convince them that maybe they should move a little bit to me. Mm-hmm. Maybe most important for me is what you if you say something, it has to be 100% true. And also I like to sleep, and I'm a guy, if there is some people unhappy, I can't sleep. So I try to have everyone happy. That's not always possible, but mm-hmm. If there is a problem, I try to solve it immediately, and even when it costs me money. So there in my business there is more than only a good product. It's also kind of belief, the fundament principles what you have needs to be honest. Mm-hmm. I like to work with people who are working hard, and so we go all the same direction and all believe in the same.
Yeah.
The good thing about social media is what we are doing, because normally in my traditional role as a distributor or an agent, I communicate only with people who are owning equestrian stores and are the buyers.
Yeah.
But there is always a kind of filter between what the end consumer think, mm-hmm. told people in the store. Maybe there is an extra level is a purchaser, mm-hmm. and then the story is told to me, and then I tell the story to the brand. Yeah. So there's a lot of steps, but because we are dealing directly mm-hmm. with social media, with end consumers, we know immediately if something is perfect. People are not that complimenters, but
it's hard to be perfect.
Yeah, hard to be. It's impossible to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
We try, but it's almost impossible. But if there is something wrong or people are making mistakes, then we know it immediately.
Yeah.
And that's even when I'm not now every day at a horse or in a stable. Mm-hmm. I'm often there, mm-hmm. But not every day. I know exactly how end consumers think,
yeah.
and even when it's not my world, I think we understand.
Yeah.
And at the end, our goal is if you purchase a product, it doesn't matter how much it costs, it has to be the right one.
Yeah.
If a product of €10 doesn't function, you feel sad. But if a product for €200 plus doesn't have a reason or doesn't function, some people get upset, and I understand that because it's an expensive sport, and there is so much variation. There are, in our case with Bucas, there are so many rugs. I understand that you don't see what rug is in the perfect situation for you.
Yeah.
Online, is also making it a little bit complicated, because in the past you went to the store and said, oh, here I am, I'm looking for a rug. Then the staff
Give
from
advice.
they ask you a lot of questions, say, oh, you need to have that one.
Yeah.
But now it's long distance, it's online, so our job is getting more and more important.
Yeah.
And we got so overawed by end consumers. The traditional way how we earn money doesn't cover all end consumers individually, give them advice, because my margin is this and the retailer margin is bigger.
Yeah.
And then we try to solve it by having a website, but we call it a choose help. www.bucasnederland.nl, and also live stream. Tomorrow evening I have a live stream, and you can ask live questions and you get immediately an answer live. So we try to
fill that gap now from people not.
Yeah, it's not my officially job.
Yeah.
It's something I know what I do because I interfere in the brand's marketing. And but it's how it is. Yeah, and the reason I started was, as I said, as a frustration. And I'm a guy, if I ask and ask and ask and ask again, and the other side doesn't respond, then I stop asking and I think, if you are not doing it, I do it myself. Because if there is complaint, they come to me. And that's also my job. And there are a couple of things who go wrong always using rugs. Maybe we come later on it. It's also a situation we have together to have a very enthusiastic, emotional woman. It's your wife.
Caring for the horses.
But cares a little bit too much. So there are two main problems in the rug business, and it's not only with Bucas. I had the biggest compliment a long time ago by the representative of Horseware. And she said, Jacob, we are so pleased that you are so keen on buying people the perfect size rug. Because every brand has a problem. If the rug is too big on the horse, it does a lot of things what you don't want.
But it's interesting you say about the brand itself, because I think it's the same in any business. I mean, you're basically part of the team of that brand, and if you don't fit with them, if they're not people that you can communicate well with, that you trust, that you know that what they say is what they're doing, then like you say, you have to be able to lie straight in bed at night and be comfortable with it. And if you're going out saying this is how the product is and this is how they're really going about it, you have to trust 100%. That's how it is. And I think there's a lot of, I think it's in probably every walk of life, but specifically in the horse world, it is a hard industry to make a living in. And then people can easily slip into telling you it's the perfect product when you know that it's impossible, things like this. And if you're doing it right, actually at the end of the day, you will be successful.
You can divide two kinds of salespeople. One salespeople is a guy who tells all the benefits of the product, and he needs to have luck that you wants to have those benefits. But there's also another salespeople, and I'm more on that. I ask questions, and then you can advise them what is the correct rug. Because every situation is the same. If you want to buy a car, a 4x4 or a Formula One wagon, it all has a steering wheel, an engine, and four wheels. But you can't go off-road with a Formula One car, and you can't go on a circuit with a 4x4.
So the more information you have about the person's actual needs, then you have the likelihood of providing a much better product, closer to the perfect one. So through the process, of course, through that process, and of course, as we talked about there, the world is overloaded with brands, the next best pop-up, the next best thing, and there's of course the brands that are the long time standing by their traditional proven craftsmanship, staying in the classic style in which they maybe begun, and those new innovative ones, the newest greatest thing with a very competitive price. And then of course there's the thing going on with where things are produced in the horse world. And if we're talking about, there's a big topic of social license, of course, within the horse industry at this moment. It's getting more and more a pressing issue. And where things are produced and how many brands and how many products. And like you say, companies are in 5 minutes becoming the next big thing, which used to take some time in getting to that stage in the past. And the sort of carbon footprint that the equine industry is creating by things being produced in a faster, cheaper manner. How do you see all that as far as the brands that are staying with their traditional way and they've spent a long time, like Peugeot, 150 years going, and then you see a brand that's comes up with a few flashy reels and it's the next best stirrup that's lightweight and safety and it's going to set off an airbag and cook your dinner on a Friday night. How does that play in the...
I think it's all about the balance. The world is evaluating. There are also new inventions, like we added last year a new material, Dermocare. It's not that we invented that material, but it's a specialist, a producer who make fabric, invented the first breathable nylon fabric. It's the end consumers are first of all very price driven. We had a Black Friday, but it's already a Black November, so it's getting already out of control.
Yeah.
So we saw again that it's so much price driven, and also the new brands who are coming, they are more marketing machines than that they understand really the needs of the end consumer, or what details should you add to a product to function perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I have often an idea that the end consumers, and it's not that I think that they are not intelligent, but they have no idea what the consequence is to always want to buy the cheapest.
Yeah.
And we are also a part of that because there is competition and you don't want to be the most expensive, but we never want to be the cheapest because it's always someone in the chain who has to suffer to be the cheapest. And generally, and it's not only in the equestrian business, we are, in my opinion, not interested as an end consumer where is it produced and who are the people who are producing it and what kind of circumstance they are manufacturing. For example, India is a big manufacture country from equestrian products. Bucas doesn't manufacture in India. They manufacture in China. And in the past, they manufacture in Ireland. But China is not the cheapest, but for human well-being and also environment regulation, they are much more
above board
than in India. If you know how the chain functions, sometimes you get a kind of cynical, because now we like to have refurbished materials, and the country who is creating the refurbished material is not always us as a manufacturer, because in the Western Europe there is almost none fabric producer anymore for clothes, for blankets, for a lot of other stuff. So it's manufactured a long distance away. They don't give a peep about rubbish, so they just push it in the ocean. Then they are rid of it, and there comes another lorry, and they push it in the ocean. And the advantage of the ocean, the sea, is you have flooding, so it floats away, and then it floats to America, and we have there a plastic soup, and then we take the plastic out of the soup, out of the ocean, and then we bring it back to India, and we recycle it, and then we make a new product of it, and then we can say, oh look, how good we are, recycled. And I'm happy that the European government now tries to, they call it greenwashing. A lot of companies are doing greenwashing. But it's a process. We are all in. It's not only in the equestrian business, but we like to have the best quality for the lowest price. But we also need to realize, to get the lowest price, who is suffering. And someone needs to suffer.
And of course, for most businesses that are long-lasting, they're generally the ones that have put more thought into the product. Because at the end of the day, there's only a few ways you can get the public. And normally a company or a brand that's flown out of a Elon Musk jet to the headlines and everyone's buying it huge quantities within 6 months is generally gone again in the next 6 months. And of course, a lot of people now have the advantage of social media. And I'm always a little bit skeptical when I all of a sudden see one product like a special feed bin made of special plastic and you see it everywhere. And there's the most fancy reel with all the technical techniques gone into it. And then you realize, they've blown their whole budget on their marketing scheme and not actually spent any time developing a good product. And everybody, the consumer, gets it and thinks, well, this is a piece of rubbish. And it's gone again in a few. And I'm aware of that also with all the things. Of course, I'm like innovation myself, and I'm interested in things that are made to better the conditions or better the working experience for the staff or better the well-being for the horses. But I'm also aware, okay, is this just a fad, and where is this made and how is this made? And I think that's why we also get on, is because I have a feeling for the product, I have a feeling for the brand. I know a little bit why somebody is making it, not what they are doing, but why they are doing it is kind of my more a go-to, especially more than the color and the who else wore it at the last competition, those sorts of things, which is driving a lot of things, of course, in our world.
We call it show jumping. It's showing off. And then in dressage it's even more. But you can also try to find a kind of combination. It has to look nice, but also combination with functionality. And I totally agree. And to buy the correct product is also sustainable. So you don't need to throw it away, because there is we call it Marktplaats. There is a special group where you can buy second-hand horseware, our biggest competitor, and Bucas products. And almost all rugs who are offered there, it's also a sustainable process that you try to sell your not correct rug to another one. But it's sad that it has to be a marketplace where you can buy your second-hand rug because people didn't look good in it and decide the wrong rug
thing.
Wrong size, maybe too warm, too cold.
That actually brings us smoothly into the next part. What is the important ingredients in selling a good horse product? Because of course, so we make a massive generalization here. The Dutchies actually collectively are good at selling. The Dutchies seem to be very good at pushing the cheap, known as fast talkers.
Yeah.
It's a country of trade.
Yeah.
The Netherlands is brought up with that. Where the Germans, again generalizing from an Australian standpoint, are generally engineering a long-lasting quality product, German made.
Yeah.
What are some of the other countries, like if we go to Spoga, for instance? I mean, I've been there only a handful of times, but then you have the Italians making all the clothes, and you go upstairs and you have the people from Pakistan and from India and from, and of course it's like going to different countries, and they all have their own kind of way of, and I have the feeling when you go there, you almost have to know more about the culture than the product or, selling. So in that world, what is it? How is it?
I had a long time ago a very interesting conversation on vacation with a Danish businessman. I also deal now with a Danish company. And he had a very easy explanation. He said, in the past, your country is small and Denmark is small. We don't have a lot of stuff in the ground what we can use. Mm-hmm. No gold, no, you name it.
Natural resources.
So we had to go out to trade. And that makes the smaller countries good traders.
Yeah.
And bigger countries like Germany and maybe also France, they have all the source in their country. They have a huge market already on their own. Mm-hmm. So for them, it was not that necessary to look for opportunities because their home market was already big. And of course, then you also have culture things. Italians are very good in details, mm-hmm. less in quality. They prefer a better looking than good quality. Germans mm-hmm. are kind of the opposite. They want quality and they doesn't care that much about
it's a little ugly.
That is, yeah. and Germans don't like to change because what we are doing the best because they investigate a lot. Also competitors say, why should we change? This is the best.
Yeah.
And what I always try to do, because I also have intense discussions with my brands, I try to respect them all, of course, but it's kind of finding the balance. Mm-hmm. So we don't make crap products, but maybe we have to be more proud that all the work we put in, maybe we need to explain. That's not arrogant, but just explain how long it takes to investigate, that we test on horses, that we have a lot of people in our area who test products. Even we use ambassadors to test products, and that we take the time. And if it's not correct, we wait. That's also a benefit. I like to work with private-owned companies. Mm-hmm. There are, the last years, a lot of private equity went into the equestrian business. Mm-hmm. Those are the fast guys who wants to have quick money, and they don't give on the long term. My brands, what I'm working with, they are private owned. They of course they need to earn money, but they don't have the stress from shareholders who wants to have quickly profit. And I never will work with a company who is owned by private equity, because it's
someone else is pulling the strings, and then you can make really your own decisions. And
I'm not that guy who doesn't give anything what other people I think. I want to sleep because I need to sleep, and I don't want to be awake that people are upset or unhappy. That some guy in the management took a decision only because I had another colleague who said, there are spreadsheet boys. spreadsheet managers. They
Looking at
only
the bottom line.
they only rule companies on numbers, and we need higher margin, and someone has to suffer. They don't give a who's suffering. Only his spreadsheet has to look perfect at the end of the year, so he's getting more bonus or what else.
Thinking from another agenda.
The funny thing about Bucas is it's a very mixed company. The owner is originally from Sweden.
Okay.
And they are based in Ireland. Even this morning we had a video conference. There are people from the Netherlands, from Ireland, from Sweden, and from Germany. It's a very international orientated company.
You have a good mix of
good mix. Also, our mentality has some negativity, so that balance everything. Sometimes I go too fast, or sometimes I forget some steps. And they said, quiet.
Because it's also an interesting, when you even hear the language and the tempo of the way Dutchies will go into it, it's often very direct. And the Irish or the English can spend 20 minutes on a nice story before they get to the question at the end. It's
I have some colleagues where I work with, because I do several years. My cooperation is long term, so the brands know me for a long time, so they know also my negative aspect or points, and they accept it. But then I have a new colleague, and they think, oh, how Jacob acts, I can also act, and so often
doesn't go.
And I need to warn them. I know I'm a little bit exceptional, but please respect also their behavior and their. So it's and I like to work with an international environment to see the difference. And sometimes I say, I know I make myself now not popular because we are straight. And I also warn brands, if they want to work with me, I know within a few months who is doing their job and who is not doing their job. And how do I know? Customers tell me, oh, I'm missing the invoice, wrong packed, look, the zipper is broken. Within a few months, I know exactly who is doing the job. And then the process will start. How do I respectfully explain how we can improve? But all the years, getting older, I realized I can't deal or change everyone.
And I think that's in every aspect when I'm working also in different countries and with different horse people from different backgrounds, different disciplines. It is a complicated mix of sort of a preconceived idea or people's culture, upbringing, the way they have sort of come into the passion of what they're doing and where their goals are, and all that sort of mixed in. Sometimes in the beginning, a few years back, I would be really keen to get them to get the horse to not do what they didn't want it to do anymore, not realizing that I was coming in at the wrong tempo with the wrong sort of perspective of the way they would receive in the information. And a lot of the time it's the listening part that's the most important bit, and to feel, okay, this is the way you can get into the rhythm of the conversation, and that we make things work because we start to be on the same wavelength and not get two tactics bumping against each other.
But that's not that I want to compare with you, but I think that's what we like, to work with humans, and it's never boring because every human is unique. And every time you need to press another button to get together the same benefits.
And always the reflection of yourself, and it's not going thinking, why am I not good in this situation, or why is it not gelling?
Yes, we make mistakes, and I also said to other people where I work with, it's okay to make mistakes.
Yeah.
It's human.
Yeah.
But if I make a mistake, I'm very tough on myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, how stupid I could be to make that mistake.
Yeah.
But that's we need to learn.
Yeah.
That's important thing. Making mistakes is not a problem, but you need to learn from it.
Yeah.
And I try to learn every day.
And
I also like to meet people who can learn me something.
Yeah.
And then also learn a lot with working with you together.
Yeah.
Also, my eyes are opened by you. What is going on in the equestrian business?
Yeah, there's so many angles and perspectives to see it from. And that was one of the other things that I value from our cooperation is when I run into a lot of different people on shows or someone approaches me with a product, the first thing they ask a lot of the time is, oh, so what are you riding in? Yeah, so and so. Oh, and the first thing they want to tell you is how bad it is. You know, you've chosen to ride in that, but they want to tell you that this and this and this is not good, and then immediately after that they're trying to sell you their product. Is that? But and you've got brands with products that are different to ones that I use, but you've never done that. You've never said to me, mine's better. Is it something you consciously think about, or that's just in your nature to not go there?
It's the cheapest way to sell your own, to damage the other. I don't like that, because every brand or all the persons who are there, they do their best. Who am I to tackle them?
Yeah.
It's a cheap way of selling your product. I need to explain the benefits, what my product has. And of course, I aim more on what we offer and not the others. It's not my intention to damage other ones. And I try to learn from the competition. Because you have a lot of buttons you can press to be successful, and it's also good to know where are your weakness and learn from others. And I learn the most from my competitors. And then I say, I want that too. And I don't steal it, but I think, oh, how can we create something what is maybe the same? And even I know it's all also about the money, that we don't do it the best. Even closer to being the best is already better than do nothing or forget.
I always remembered a piece of advice I was given, a phrase that said, the empty vessel screams the loudest. And that always stuck with me. And it's the same a little bit with trainers or people you meet, riders. If straight away they're in the negative and feeling like they hear a name and straight away they have to say, but he does this and he's not good, and you should have seen her at the show. Straight away I have that thing of, is it you don't really trust or feel value in what you know, or your skills, or yourself? Are you lacking some level of confidence that you need to put the other down because you're not, if you're holding something of great value and you're really focused on it and you really believe on it, you don't need to be shit canning anybody else. And I think that's a big thing that is a problem in the horse world at the moment. You know, when we have ridicule and someone looks at, you know, a dressage disaster video, or someone starts to make comment that we should maybe change or think about doing something else, it's a little bit more friendly. Immediately, people are first saying, well, that's not me, you know, and but the show jumpers, they are riding with much worse bits and much worse. Not realizing, like you say, that you can learn from everybody, and we segregate ourselves. We say I'm a dressage rider and I'm not a jumper.
Yeah.
I'm a jumping rider and I'm not a crazy Western guy with big spurs. And of course, each discipline has a different level of care factor. But that's the separation part. It's not a unification. We separate ourselves. The world outside, public opinion, sees us as equestrians.
Yeah. We sit on a horse, or we walk with a horse, or we have horses.
Or we don't ride the horses anymore in the future, or whatever is going to happen.
Yeah.
But it's funny that sort of human insecurity of feeling the reason to say something's not good in order to
you say it on the correct way. It's a human thing. It's not only in the question, but it's a human natural way of not all the people, but a lot of people blame the others and don't look in the mirror. What are you doing? And they also don't dare to admit that maybe what they are doing isn't, if you look at this today, maybe it's not perfect. So how can we try to make it work for the future? It's self-reflection. And a lot of people don't have self-reflection, and that's a pity. And I don't want to be general, but how more money and success is involved, how stronger they hold their old, in their way, functioning system. We are successful, and look what championship we won. They don't say we don't want to change, but they think in their mind,
it's a difficult process. Of course, For looking back and when you've put on all the effort to get to a certain stage and you've been successful, all that work and all that investigation and training and learning and developing and growing, and then you get there and you go, oh, this is not it anymore. Someone's here is like overtaking and going to a new level in a new direction, and oh, now I'm behind. And it's easier then, I guess, to clamp on to proving that this is
and another fact is it's also kind of insecureness, and also laziness, because to learn something you need to invest time and to be open to adapt it.
No, absolutely. I think that's across the board. Like you say, it's a human thing. It's not a particularly. And if you talk to people, that are training dogs, I have friends in different areas training different breeds of animals, working with different sports and cultures, and it's across the board, of course. Sometimes when you're in an industry, you can think, oh, geez, the horse world's full of crazy people, but actually the world is full of different people, and it's just your exposure to that.
But I'm concerning about welfare. I'm very into the equestrian business because I have a lot of contacts I know from in different businesses. So I know trainers, I know successful riders, I know influencers, I know young girls, old girls, the horse huggers, and the competition. I know all, and we have a big task to be serious about.
And it's a large spectrum. The professional or you can only go to somewhere like Equitana, and at one end of the hall they're selling neck ropes and bitless bridles, and in the other end they're selling a double rein Dutch gag. There's so many spaces in between. But if we go directly now into that with something we talked about earlier, and which you've mentioned on a lot of your no-nonsense approach, talking about products, and not just something, it's not just something, of course, that you are reading from a script off a website, going into detail and having the knowledge. And I've heard you say a number of times, not only on the videos, but also in meetings we've had, the killing horses with love, the grooms and the wives. And of course, there are many opposing views in the horse world. posing of views also between amateurs and professionals who know more and who do it better. But you've done some extensive research, particularly in horse rugs. What are some of the things specifically to killing horses with love? Because I like that sort of paraphrase, because those two words.
I understand it's not on purpose that they kill their horse. It's a little bit accelerated, but they want to take care that much about the horse, and I call it too much love, that they do the opposite what they want. And what we see in rugs, they think if I put a lot of rugs on my horse, I do the best. But it's the opposite. I'm also human, and I'm gonna tell you now a bad story. I don't tell you all the details, but if I have it warm under my blanket, I get awake, and I do something. I can open the window, I can put my leg out of the blanket, I can push my wife out of the bed, but I can do something.
Yeah.
But we as a manufacturer are responsible to make a strong rug. And so we have a very solid closure system at the front and the singles. So it's so strong that a horse is not able, some horses can, to take out the rug. So we think we help the horse to put a lot of love, blankets over it. And then you do completely the opposite, because the horse is too warm, and some horses get grumpy. Then we get a complaint. Yeah, he tries to kill our rugs.
It's not sitting straight.
It's not sitting straight.
He's trying to pull it up.
And that's such a pity. And how longer the people are active in the equestrian business, how more difficult for us is to change them. And I understand that changes cost time, but yeah, sometimes I don't. If she is listening, she knows who I mean. But I have a very nice woman in my area I know pretty well, and if I'm at her stable, I always put the hand under the rug, and I tell, oh, did you just train your horse? Because the horse is wet. But the horse is wet 24 hours under the blanket because he's sweating.
Mm.
And I explain her, and that's also what I will explain to you. And I did explain, there is what is the comfort zone of a human? And if you compare it with a horse, it's 15 degrees different, so it's lower for a horse. So if we think, it's cold.
And that's the thing. Because that's also what my wife is doing. Yeah. Coming outside for and maybe she just puts her slippers on and not a jacket on. She comes outside and thinks, oh, now it's really cold. She's having the sensation she's cold. She goes in the stable, looks at the horse and thinks, I better put a neck blanket or another.
Yeah, something else.
Yeah.
A deck bed.
Yeah.
Yes. So they compare themselves with the horse. So there's already 50 degrees colder, and then it's also a clipped horse.
Yeah.
Look what it is when the horse is unclipped.
Yeah.
We always say relax. What is the benefit about Bucas? We calculated each rug. What is the perfect temperature range for that rug? So it's, if you are in the green zone, it's perfect. All the other brands name it as we have 100 gram, 200 gram, 300 gram, but it doesn't
tell you anything about when to put it on and what temperature.
It's only telling you one thing: the weight of something what is inside.
Yeah.
So it could be 100 gram cookies you put in the blanket, and you can call it on the etiquette. It's a 100 gram filled rug.
Yeah.
With
you
cookies.
Don't know what it filled.
But you don't know what it is. And also 100 brand from brand A or B, they totally they can be totally different. And another thing is what is general what people think in the equestrian business is if I start very early with using warm blankets, the hair stops growing or slow down. So, yeah, I always say, look here, I'm the specialist. I would love to be able to, I think, oh, grow hair. But it doesn't function, but it also means the opposite.
I had hair when I was in Australia when it was 40. Now it's cold. I'm losing it.
Yeah, so you are also the proof. And I had a nice talk.
So just let's unpack that. If you can't stop hair growth, if it starts to get cold and you put more blankets on,
it costs years of terrorization of your horse.
Yeah.
So your brains are having a function, and if I want to move my arm, I don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
My brain says to the muscles, do something.
Yeah.
But there is no direct connection between your brain and a hair vein.
Yeah.
And it's run by hormones sent in blood, and that's a process of months.
Yeah.
So if you terrorize, have too much love for your horse, or you think you can avoid hair growing, you are totally interfering nature function and a system what runs for months. So our advice is don't do that. If you want to get rid of the hairs, you need to clip the horse.
Yeah.
And I understand if you are trained a lot and you are very active in training, the horse is sweating, and if the hairs are long, it stays long wet.
Yeah.
That you need to clip. So clip your horse if you don't like the hairs.
But not putting more rugs on to prevent hair growth.
No. If you are doing that for several years, then you get a kind of funny situation. In the Netherlands, we say it's called a kind of a pig fur.
Yeah.
If you look at a pig, they have
long hairs,
but also short hairs.
Like a double coat.
Yeah, and some horses who are treated with too much love, or with grooms who think, oh, we need to put too heavy warm rugs on it. Yeah. You see each hair vein is kind of confused.
Yeah.
Some who are understanding it, but also some not. So then you have a very funny fur. Yeah. So long hair, short hairs mixed.
Yeah.
And that's for me a complete sign that I know immediately, oh, that rug is kind of...
I see it on a lot of horses. Sometimes you think there would be not so much hair on the shoulder, but sometimes it's the other way around. The horse is having a lot of hair in the, or where the parts that are not extra warm, and the ones that are extra warm, and then you have these patches where you're thinking, what?
Yeah.
And growing in different colors, random color patches on a black horse, brown patches, and
so also you have some horses who are confused. No, it's normal. What I try to do is not to convince anyone, but I try to explain and also understand if you are doing that for a long time, it's difficult to step out of it. Yeah. But that's sometimes I'm how you call it, a religion guy. I think there is the end. And so please, people, don't use...
I listen to your advice, but then I'm always the guy like, he just says, leave him with nothing. But if I bring, like now we have the two-year-olds, or we have the young horses here that have never had a blanket on, they have the shortest hair of all of them. Yeah. And they've never had a blanket on. They're in now the same stable for quite some months. And the ones that have had the blankets on, they need to be clipped already because they have hair like...
People also need to realize that a horse is having a lot of intelligence, and they can take care about themselves. So there were some studies done by making the horse, how you call it, on the cold, making them on purpose cold, and how does a horse respond? That doesn't mean immediately hair grows like an explosion. No, the horse is acting the same as we are doing. When we are getting cold, we shiver, and shivering is just tense your muscles on the short term, and that warms you up. Yeah. And if that doesn't work, we do something crazy, or we stamp, or we jump, and the horse is doing the same in the stables. So if it's happening,
Except if they're hot, and then they're dead.
yeah, at the end, if it takes too long, they stop with it, but then you already see it. So if a horse shivers, no stress. If a horse walks around in the stable, then he tries to warm it up, and then you are okay to help him with warmer blankets.
So would you say then that, and it would make sense because the professionals have more access to more blankets, but would you say then an amateur is maybe rugging their horses better than most professionals? As far as they would maybe only buy one blanket and the horse lives in the paddock for most of the day, maybe he comes in, they put one blanket on and they don't.
The job of the professional rider, and especially the groom, is to take care the best for the horse, but they don't know how to take care. I had an experience, and I don't name anyone, but I saw a picture on social media with a very nice international dressage horse based in the Netherlands who was wearing a Shamrock Power with a neck. And because we are using a very technical material which is called stay dry, because we always have a dry layer on the skin, it's always has a high insulation grade. So I know if I see a horse, a very nice horse, and I know also a kind of van he will be in after the moment walking to the van, and then and over that Shamrock Power with neck, there was also from our competitors the wool blanket on with the stripes, and I know it's very popular because it's very nice, the stripes. We also will have it in the future, a stripe wool rug, and I think, oh my God, in the van, a Shamrock Power, each layer, 2 layers, 10 degrees, it's 20 degrees with a wool rug on it. Then some other horses in the van, small area, a long way to drive. Heat will build up extremely. So then I contacted the stable and I said, please, I don't want to sell you anything. I don't sell directly, but please let me explain how you can maybe do a little bit better job by knowing what kind of product you are using, because you are using products and you don't realize how good they are. And nothing here back. Then I contacted them again. They didn't respond, and I thought, oh, let it go. It's not to blame the groom, but it's also a matter that you don't know the function of the article. And then it's also what I told Katja in the past, and I told every rider, you put a lot of energy in the horse. It's called training, more exercise, muscles, how you call it, that you have a long breath. We put in very good food. We have a lot of people around us, veterinary, chiropractor. We all put a lot of energy into the horse. If we are in the arena, we want to look at a show. And then you take almost half of the energy out of your horse because you are using 2 warm blankets. Because losing to get rid of the heat costs energy. And funny, so you put in a lot of energy and you throw half away.
And I find it also really interesting because in the beginning, that advice to me, I took it as literal, this is valuable information. Because here's a guy that's got a brand that should be selling us rugs, and he's saying, don't buy so many.
But at the end, what I told before, we want to have happy horses with happy end consumers. And it doesn't mean that you need 10 rugs per horse, but if you spend money, it has to be on the right product. That's our long-term belief. We don't need to sell this year for new investors to come in for private equity. It's a long-term. And I like slow, long-term goals.
Regression. So it's funny with the transport, because I also feel on a lot of horses that come with transport difficulties, a lot of the time we don't really realize the effects of putting a horse in the little sprinters now that we have, or trailers, or the big trucks, especially the big trucks with a lot of horses. that whole, especially if we're going long distances, what kind of memory, previous memory, experience and emotion to that event physically in the body, that they carry it with them. And that I have many times with horses with trailer loading problems, or people think always about the loading. We do the course on TRT, it's about being the professional loader and an expert traveler, which is more important than the getting on part. And if we do the getting on part, then the experience. And a lot of horses you'll have start to sweat before they get even in or near the trailer.
Yeah.
So it's interesting you say about, putting the nicest, good-looking rugs on to go. Do you have those sorts of experiences then afterwards with horses that are over?
I started to realize because of our therapy rugs, and one of the benefits, there are a lot of benefits, but people say, oh, if I'm using the therapy rug, my horse is more relaxed in the trailer or in the van.
Yeah.
And then I start thinking about it. Why? It makes the horse relax. And then I try to realize what is the experience of a horse. And then I compare it with ourselves. If you are sitting next to me in the car, we go to a roundabout. We're driving on the street here, 80 kilometers an hour, and you see up front there will in a roundabout. But I don't going to tell you, Tristan, take care. I will brake. And I go, in our country, we go on the right side on the roundabout. So at first I brake, then I steer. And then if I want to go straight on, then I accelerate. I don't need to tell you that, but if you are sitting next to me, you already know this will happen.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, you do a little bit like this. He's going to brake, and then you hold a little bit like this because I make the move on the roundabout, and then you think, ooh, there we go. But a horse doesn't see it.
Yeah.
So he's doing like this all the time because every second there can happening something.
Yeah.
So then we also have a kind of. I also do talk with people who manufacture vans, horse trailers, and they say, the best way to transport your horse is with the back against the driving direction. So if a horse is standing, hold a trip like this, I already get it warm now.
Yeah.
It costs a lot of energy.
Yeah.
So if you add then also in a small space, it's an adult horse, 500, 600 kilo of body in a small space, it already heats up very quick. If you then also put a too warm rug on it, it's too much love.
Yeah.
But at the end, it will kill your horse.
Yeah.
So even when it's freezing outside, because it's cold, and I go from the stable to the van or the trailer, they think, it's cold outside, rugs.
Yeah.
In the van, and then they think, we are doing a good job.
Yeah.
No, we are not doing a good job.
It's interesting to say about the therapy, because of course I'm quite the skeptic in a lot of those things, because I'm a trainer, I'm a horse teacher. You have to teach, and there's a process in teaching your horse something, and someone says, I put a blanket on and makes him quiet. I think, yeah. But I had a client that had a problem with trailer loading and he always used to come off. He went in okay, but he was traveling not great. And so a lot was to do with the balance. So we taught him mobility and awareness of his body and how to be grounded, to be able to follow because he was doing a lot of that. And then she had 2 sessions, and then she came back to do a little bit more groundwork, and he came off the trailer, and he was normally a bit hot, and literally hot, and also energy-wise. And he walked in, she opened the door, and he walked in the stable like this, and I was thinking, hey, you've been doing your homework. No, just I bought this new therapy blanket. I was like, huh? But it was immediately, and I could feel when took the blanket off, brought the horse in, and I felt the body, and I could feel immediately because his muscles were, contracted, and he'd been doing something. Now he was completely. That's when we ordered the therapy blankets. Not long after that. So yeah, I understand your point. So we told earlier about starting out as a kid, being very successful in competitions, and then stopping. And you're surrounded, of course, by top sporters, surrounded by selling to shops that are selling to top sporters. And you see the process of the kids, what we talked about, looking to get on the Europeans and this sort of thing. And you see the big indoor shows, you visit the stands, and you sometimes see the competitions on the big shows. What is your feeling in general of the equestrian environment? And you took yourself out of it, out of the sport world fairly early on, but you're now heavily involved and have been for a long time. What is your take on it in general? Because it is it's getting more and more pressing. And if I sort of go to other professionals in the industry that are also making a business at a high level in top sport, most of them, for the past couple of years, when I would speak to them about things that were going on with public license and dressage disaster videos and the pressure that's on the industry, most of them say, but they don't know what they're talking about. They wouldn't know how to train a horse, or they wouldn't know. And then slowly it's becoming, and now it's really pressing. It's more, horse welfare has been a topic and has been for, the last 5 or 6 years or whatever. But
what I hope is that more people are self-reflective and also are.
How do you view it yourself?
Yeah, I see a lot of people continue what they are doing for a long time, and also what's trained long time ago. And you need to take a step back and to be honest to yourself and say, okay, it's not trying to convict those people and that you did all the years a shitty job, but be honest and try to be open for what is happening in the world, how people look at our sport, and try with steps to change. But it starts with yourself, to feel the need that something has to be done, and also be open to yourself that no one is perfect. I'm not perfect, and try to be open, not telling, we are doing the best and those are the horrible people. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
Try to be open, talk with each other. How can we improve? At the end, it's an animal we love, but an animal what needs to perform. And there is a kind of, how do you say it? It's a kind of, one is in charge and one not. But you can reach the end of the goal also by using less pressure. And don't see your horse as a tool to succeed, but see your horse as an animal. It's a very intelligent animal, and a horse also wants to work for us. It's the same as a dog. The dogs also wants to work for us. So use that, and take more time, especially the Dutchies and other countries. If we can skip some steps to reach the top, we are the first one to do. The Germans are more into, we have a structure and we need to have, for example, 10 steps, and we don't skip one because then we get a little bit nervous. And we think, if we can skip 2, maybe 5 is better.
Here I can tell you how we can skip 2. It's almost a bit of a,
So I hope the professional world, even if they are already successful by winning a lot of championship and sell a lot of horses or breed a lot of horses, that they realize world is changing. People have different needs, and I hope they don't defend their own position, because that's what's happening often, and that they are looking more wider than their own business.
Yeah.
But the whole system is organized in a kind of old-fashioned structure.
Yeah.
And there also will need a kind of change in the structure because there's still the same people who are the trainers, the coach, the KNS bond. It's still the same. And if you want to have changes, you need also to change the structure.
Yeah. And do you think big brands are aware of those things in the industry, or are they worried that, because of course for many years now, and I've been to a lot of seminars and roundtable and people that represented like the IOC saying that there's no chance the horse from the IOC, the equestrian sport won't go out of the Olympics. But of course there's many that are, and if you see collectively what the IOC is interested in, views, public popularity, and then if you see what's going on in the horse world and what the general public says what the builder and the plumber have seen on the television or on the internet, if you see what public opinion is, it would say that we could end up like the circus. Yeah. You said like 50, 60 years ago, someone said to some of the big circus brothers, soon you won't be able to have animals in your show. They would also have said, yes, if that's hundreds of generations that have done it like this, why would it change? But it's not anymore.
Yeah.
So are the brands, are they thinking about that? Is that a conscious thing that they think, well, if this goes out of the Olympics, it's going to affect everything all the way down the chain?
There are some brands, I also speak with them, and there are also some brands who are not, especially the big brands run by, let's say, private equity or managers who doesn't give they only short term. They don't. They
just move on to the next thing.
Yeah. But there are some brands, and I know also there are some movements from suppliers. They try to help the chain to be changed. Mm-hmm. And also we support like we support you because we think or we are sure you have the right direction where you want to go to for the future, and also the horses. And we have some other people who we are supporting by if you have the correct story, because at the end we would love to have horses, and it would be nice that we also can sit on them.
Yeah.
And sometimes if I want to make a tough decision or a little bit like the Dutch direct, I said, look, we have now the wolf walking free.
Yes.
And we all don't like it, but we as a government allow that a wolf is walking around, and that sometimes he kills a sheep or a mini pony and maybe a horse, but it's okay. And there could also be a reason that the government decides, every horse needs to walk free. So open the gates like the wolf. Yeah. And it's natural. They choose their own place. Yeah. And if there is a car, we will see on the roads. Yeah. I hope that example helps people, because we have the wolf. Yeah. It's walking around. Yeah. Because we think it's the best for the nature. Yeah. And not all people are aware the seriousness. And as you said, it's the plumber. It's name it. They don't understand. Yeah. But we can also, what I also told several people is, it's of course if something's horrible happening, we see it on the television, but it's also our job to explain how we do every day our best to keep the horse as positive as possible, in the best shape, so that we clean the stable, that we do protection on the legs, that if there is something wrong, we call a specialist. Yeah. It's also a part of us to explain it's not an animal where we sit on and ask to do crazy stuff, but it's also an animal where we take care of. Yeah. So telling the positive story. We need to have an answer, and there is, unfortunately, there's always a moment. If you look at a person who's training a horse for half an hour, there's always a moment that it's sometimes a little bit like this. Yeah. So if you frame that, I don't say it's okay, but if you frame that,
Yeah.
then everything around the world says, look at that, they damage the horse.
Yeah.
But we have also a responsibility for the world, that we explain what we do on a positive way.
Yeah.
And we need also to be honest that there need some things to change.
Yeah. And I think that's the most important thing, is that we, putting your head in the sand and saying, I mean, that's, the pressure is here. And in some ways, I think a lot of the welfare groups and people that are publicizing all the negative, the terrible photos and things like that, that was necessary. And the sport has progressed a lot because of that exposure. People are forced to look and ask questions about what they're doing. And self-reflection then is the first part of positive change. But exactly to your point, the rest needs to come from positivity. You can, if I go, we had a couple of years ago a roundtable meeting about how we, in Aachen it was, how do we defend ourselves against our critics? Totally wrong wording to begin with.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, someone from a horse welfare group stood up as the expert and said, Martin Luther King was a great man. He was against racism. I mean, that to the point is exactly what their standpoint is. He wasn't against racism. He was for equality. He was for freedom. And we can go into the negativity and you can beat your head against the wall. This is bad. Rolke is not good. Devil, this is not good. This is not good. And you can do that till the end of time. But if you're going to make positive change through the masses, you have not to do something that's going to create segregation. Separate. They're perplexed by that. If I go and I look at a platform and you see all these horrific photos, what are the emotions that evokes? You become sad, you become depressed, you don't want to look at it, you don't want to think about it. This is not creating positive change. And just exactly to your point, being able to explain to people through inspiration, motivation, have reflection of what are we doing? Why are we doing it? And what are these key values? And there was, it's sort of interesting how we look at a lot of those things in business. Like I could imagine with a lot of the brands, there are sort of an inner consciousness of ethical practices within the company, like you say, sleeping, being able to sleep at night because that you have some ethical and moral boundaries that guide you in behaving in the right way. And of course, we can't say business ethics, and we can't say equestrian ethics, because there's no such thing. It should just be ethics.
Yeah.
How do you think it's in business? Because I see you as a very ethical and moral guy in just this story today, how you explain how you go about your work and how you do it. Do you have a way of building that? Do you think that those ethical and moral guidelines that you have just come from your upbringing and the way you think, or are you conscious of those? And if you were to say to a brand, okay, this is not going in the right way because this person's not doing the right job, and we're not behaving in a way to create, a good moral practice, so we're not going to be successful. What are the sort of main things that you would say?
I try to talk with a lot of people about it. And my wolf story, I think a lot of people recognize it. I try to talk with everyone I know. It doesn't matter if what level they are or how successful or not successful. I try to talk as much about it. I also realize that me as a single person, I'm not able to change it. But to talk about it, the same as we are doing now, make people aware. I try to have a small positive thing. I also realized that we need to earn money. That also means for our professional group of equestrian people, they also need to earn money.
Yeah.
But it's not all about the money. Because if I really was interested to earn a lot of money, I was not sitting here and I already had a boat in Monaco, maybe, and I had my own Formula One team.
Yeah.
But it's a part of and it's a kind of balance.
Mm-hmm.
I can't change the world myself, but I don't have problems to tell my opinion or to tell what is happening. That's the same as we did manufacture products along far away.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's telling and hope that people act. But it's also we have to do as a group.
Yeah.
As a group, we are stronger.
Yeah.
Than one individual who's saying we need to go to in that direction.
Yeah.
And maybe I try to connect also because I also say to other brands, I said it's also our business. I can sell a rock if you are not allowed to sit on it. Maybe you need a rock to walk with it, or if we're in the field, I still can sell a rock, but I can't sell a saddle anymore because you don't need a saddle, you can't sit on it. Yeah. So it's also our future. So please also look long term. Even Friday I have a meeting with a couple of suppliers, and we also talk about that. We are also a big part in it, and maybe we have some benefits because we're also a part where money is earned. And to change, unfortunately, we need to have a kind of funding to change things.
I had been through this process a lot in recent times. I've given now a few welfare demonstrations and clinics talking about what's important to a horse and these sorts of things. And then it got me to thinking where we tend to slip, how we get to a point where we maybe do things that we wouldn't normally do, or we get to a position where we lack a bit of self-reflection, or we behave in a way that is, there's normally, I sort of broke it down into some categories. There's the convenience thing is very big in the horse world. And I would say with brands and with products, but also with horse people, we tend to do the easy thing instead of the right thing. It's like, okay, we tend to rationalize it. Oh, but it was only this one time,
Look what the others are doing. They are more horrible than we are.
Exactly. And of course, in sport, we often do what we must to win. The same in business, the same with a brand. And then, of course, justifying it. Winning in the sport requires us to do this. And just to your point, the others are doing it. So how do we compete if we are also not doing it? And of course, nobody goes out of their way to do bad things intentionally, either to their horse or in business or whatever it is. But at the same time, nobody likes to lose.
No,
you don't set out to do that. And to your point before, there's a lot of people that are invested in this, that help you in your team, your farrier, your vet, your groom, your spouse, your sponsor, all of these things. So that puts a lot of pressure on people that a lot of people I don't think realize that they have that pressure on them. They have this unconscious reaction to do something because without actually realizing it. I think those things out in the open are important because sometimes it's hard to maybe go into the self-reflection, or it's hard to, you find yourself being lazy or not wanting to do it because you're not really realizing that pressure is there. And of course, especially more in dresser sport, as you said, more than jumping. But we have to be seen to be successful.
Yeah, but it's your own values that you lose. And sometimes I give the example, you talk about pressure. My business is not that big that I have a huge building and a huge warehouse. A car for me, and I like nice cars, it's for me a big investment.
Yeah.
But I choose myself first to earn money to be able to buy the car.
Yeah.
I can do the opposite. I can go to a garage and say, I want to have that car and give me your monthly fee. But then I feel pressure.
Yeah.
Because I need to perform every day.
Yeah.
And of course, I like to perform and I will perform, but it's my decision.
Yeah.
So I think everyone is in the lead of their own decisions.
Yeah.
But you need often to reflect, what is the next step I want to make and what is the consequence?
Yeah.
So pressure, yes. But I already made the decision myself. I don't want to be a millionaire. Of course, I would love, especially my kids. But it's not happening because I'm not that horrible, tough guy who wants to earn everything myself and no one else. So it's my decision to make. But there are a lot of people who want to earn the whole world.
Yeah.
We have several wars now going on.
Yeah.
It's also a human thing. But also self-reflection, be that grown up to ask several times yourself, what am I doing, what is the consequence, and what is... I also realize when I do something, it also affects some other people around me.
Yeah.
So I have big consequence.
Yeah.
And I even this morning I had a meeting with my two assistants, and I said, we have now a difficult decision to make. I'm not making that myself. We do it together.
Yeah.
Because 3 know more than 1.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm the guy who takes responsibility, but we do it all 3 together.
Yeah. And I think that unification is an important thing. And like you say, that awareness of all those aspects is what's going to keep us out of the shit, I think.
I think there are some processes started. We are not there. And I hope also this podcast will help a little bit. It's all just small parts.
Yeah.
And you are doing a great job already for several years. It's already what you preach from yourself, your business. But I know you're also very into the deep organization and the top. And what I like about you, that you often put on the mirror. So look, look, what are you saying now? Look what the consequences is.
Yeah.
And there need to be more people to do that. But go on with your great job, Tristan.
So we have to think about the 5 hours, because of course we could go on forever. And I often, when I'm talking to you, and if I hear now, you probably have the same, I like to ask questions that I can really get something out of. So I'm sort of going through my mind here, the information you're giving me, how I apply that to my own world. But great to talk to you. Thank you very much for coming on the show. And how do people find you if they're going to look you up after the 7.5 million, 2 days after it's released, that will hear this across YouTube, Spotify, and all the other
they can reach. Thank you for asking. They can reach us by sending a direct message to Bucas in Netherlands. We have www.bucasnederland.nl as a website. Very interesting to see all the information what is put in there. And I have our own company webpage. It's www.mobiagenturen.nl or .com. I forgot. Sorry. But if you enter Mobi Agenturen, you will find me.
Very good.
Yes.
Thank you again. Thank you very much, guys. And like always, tune in, see us on the TRT YouTube channel, TRT Method, and all our socials. Be good to your horse, and we'll see you again next time.